brutal. Oh, man.
One second. I was just researching these preseason games for tomorrow, Josh, and the one undrafted rookie quarterback for the Vikings is a direct descendant of Ragnar Lothbrok. Remember the show Vikings?
No.
You don't remember the show Vikings?
How could I remember something I've never seen?
Okay. Kind of neat.
So they have a Viking that's a Viking? Is that what you're trying to tell me here?
Yeah, like an actual Viking. Yeah, but like the king Viking, the man.
Aren't all Vikings kings?
No, I just meant like this one was specifically cool. Also, it probably stinks, so that'll ultimately be his claim to fame.
Sure. Stupid abbreviations.
All right. All right. Hey, good morning and welcome to the Stochastic.com MLB Strategy Show. I'm Dave Loughran at Lofty_D on Twitter, joined by Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman. Thanks for riding solo yesterday, brother. Appreciate you.
My preferred way to do a show, so it's cool.
Well, your unfortunate luck or your luck runs out today. We got 8 main slate games, 3 early slate games. I think, and by the way, happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up as you're coming in the door. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below if you're watching after the fact. At the very least, we read all of them. And if you want to listen in podcast form, we got them on all podcast platforms. Review, rating, subscribe to the pod helps us greatly. And also, if you just like don't have YouTube Premium and you want to close your phone and listen to it, that is the optimal way to do it. So check that out as well. But we got 8 main game slates, 3 early games. Usually if it's 4+ early games, we'll spend a significant amount of time on that. I think probably the best way to do it is just give our quick breakdown of the early slate, top pitchers here, top stacks, top way to build lineups, maybe a couple ways to get different. And then we can hit on this 8-game main slate, which has much bigger prize pools tonight.
You're the boss, man.
All right. Well, listen, this is a team effort here. That sound good to you?
No, it doesn't, but we're going to do that anyway.
Trying to be a company man, you know what I mean? Just trying.
I've never been anything other than a company man.
That couldn't be further from the truth.
Oh, I don't know about that. It zigs and it zags.
It mostly zags.
It depends on the day.
Right.
Tomato.
Listen, I think we all know the truth here, but besides the point, we got some baseball to talk about. The 8-game main slate is an interesting one for sure. You're going to see a lot of ownership coming into like Darvish and Shohei Ohtani. But if we're talking about the early slate here, I'm not sure necessarily where you want to start. We can go pitching, we can go hitting. We can just, again, take an overall, like just an overarching view of this and figure it out from there with only 3 games on the slate. I'm looking at it right now, and at the top of the pitcher pool, 25K to first on DraftKings, it's Jordan Montgomery, it's Graham Ashcraft, and then Johnny Cueto, $8,200 Cueto. They have just boosted these prices through the roof on some of these guys. Do you see these salaries?
No, I don't see anything. Maybe that's just me.
Well, I'm looking on the site itself.
Oh, okay. That's a different thing then. Let me look at the site itself. that might help us in
Yeah,
this
on
endeavor.
DraftKings itself. Graham Ashcraft is this is 2 starts ago he was $6,300. 4 starts ago he was $5,800. Today, at home at Great American Ballpark, he's $9,000.
I'm just hypothesizing because I don't have any data in front of me right now, but just guessing. 9K Graham Ashcraft in Cincinnati in August, probably not the day to get to him. Just guessing.
Probably not.
Just guessing. To be fair, though, most of the other names on the list of guys that are pitching are either guys that I have never seen have a name on DraftKings before, or they are just notoriously known as being shitty, whichever direction you want to go with that. I don't know what a Tarnock is going for Oakland.
That sounds like a Viking descendant, if you ask me.
I assume he won a contest somewhere in Oakland to be the long man today. Chris Flexen has been imported back from Korea. Adrian Hauser hasn't been good for like 6 or 7 years. Johnny Cueto, I feel like, is older than me at this point, but somehow isn't even close. You get Ashcraft at 9K, and then Jordan Montgomery is properly priced against Oakland. Montgomery, I assume, will look exceptional when all is said and done here, because everybody else out there is a real problem.
Adam just stirring up trouble again on
Twitter.
Did you?
I mean, it's great. Apparently he needs to just tag us both, so he's sending the same DM, because I assume it was the same thing I responded to when we started the show.
Yeah, he's just looking for trouble. I'll never understand this guy. He actively seeks out trouble. Oh man. Anyway, yeah, you're right about all. Listen, Tarnock, Pruitt opening, Chris Flexen for Colorado. We don't have ownership updated, but nope. I can tell you right now for the early slate, it's just going to be massive ownership going to Jordan Montgomery and Adrian Hauser. And that says all you need to know. Like $7,300 Adrian Hauser against Colorado. He's not a strikeout pitcher. And we saw what happens with, Wade Miley. I said it on the deeper dive yesterday. Probably get like six innings, 1 run and a handful, and you're going to need a bunch of strikeouts, which is unlikely. I think he went 6 innings, 1 run with 2 strikeouts. That's Wade Miley for you. But Adrian Hauser, slightly better strikeout stuff than Miley. And then Jordan Montgomery, they've priced him through the roof, but clearly the best pitcher in the best matchup in the best park on this slate. I don't really see any way around it.
No, neither do I. And that's usually a bad sign for me. I'm guessing if I do register this early slate, by the time we're done this show, that I end up with 100% Jordan Montgomery, and I'm going to want to throw up, because I just feel like I get the wrong end of that one every single day that it happens. After that, though, good luck figuring out who ends. I mean, I guess Johnny Cueto probably ends up looking like the pseudo. I mean, or honestly, it's probably Hauser at 7,300 is the guy that ends up looking the best, because you're not in Coors, you're not in Cincinnati. I'm guessing Hauser ends up looking like the number 2.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Johnny Cueto, Johnny Cueto right now. By the way, I had mentioned to Adam not long ago, I was like, dude, Johnny Cueto's still in the league. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, I just found out the other week as well. I really didn't even know Johnny Cueto was still pitching. He's made 4 starts this year, and he has a 504 xFIP, 21% K rate, whatever, but it's Cincinnati in a game with a significant total. I don't see it.
I don't see it either. Feels like it's going to be a really tough spot. Well, that's the problem here. It's a 3-game slate. It's not like he's just going to be 0. Like, he's going to be, I don't want to say significantly owned, but like, it's a lot. It has to be a lot by default. It's not going to feel, no one's going to look at their lineup and be like, I got the goods here. It's going to look awful. That's what a 3-game slate does to you. It just looks terrible.
10-run total in this game, 9.5-run total in the Rockies and Brewers game, 8.5-run total between Texas and Oakland. Again, there's one guy, Hauser stands out the most as far as cheap in a good matchup to free up salary, hands down. But the best actual pitcher in the best matchup is unquestionably Jordan Montgomery. he's not inexpensive. Rockies have a 3.9 run total. Oakland, Josh, 3.1 run implied total. Listen to these others. Texas, 5.6 against whoever they decide to run out there for Oakland.
Yeah.
5.9 run implied total for Milwaukee, 5.3 for the Reds, and 5 for the Miami Marlins. So there are 2 teams with sub 4 totals and 4 of them with 5+.
I mean, that leads you to what like the most popular constructions are going to be pretty quickly. What that ends up looking like in terms of lineup construction for you to try to win a contest is a very different conversation, but it is abundantly clear what is good and what is bad on the early for today.
And as far as bats go, though, do we really have to discriminate here between any of these other 4 teams that have really high totals? I figure value factors into it clearly as far as how expensive some of these guys are. But if you're just going Montgomery and Hauser at 10K and 7.3, it's not like you won't have any salary relief at the hitter positions. What do you make of these other guys or these stacks?
The easy thing to do is say this. The Oakland A's are 6th. That much I am confident in. And I'm generally confident that the Colorado Rockies will be 5th. After that, you're probably looking at Cincinnati and Milwaukee as the 2 primaries just because of Cincinnati's park. Milwaukee does at least play up a little bit and is facing Colorado. Texas will just have a raw talent edge, but they're also playing in Oakland, so they're going to be limited a little bit more. But the home teams in the non-Oakland parks, Cincy and Milwaukee, are going to be the leaders in the clubhouse in terms of interest. Cincinnati in particular, probably that top team, if I had to guess.
Okay. Yeah, I think this feels pretty straightforward.
Yeah. There's not a lot of wiggle room on this early.
The only difference now is like if you're trying to get different at pitcher, where do you go? And I think the honest answer here is probably like once we have the updated tools, that'll be helpful for sure. Once we see what projected ownership looks like and leverage scores and everything. But I don't think there's a clear differentiator here between Cueto and Ashcraft, and they're expensive. Chris Flexen against Milwaukee, that's brutal. Yeah, Milwaukee has a 5.9 run implied total. I don't really think there's a lot you can do with Chris Flexen today, either outside of just like, hey, throw it out there, close your eyes and hope that something bad doesn't happen.
Man, I would really like to talk about this one more, you know? I wonder what we could have done to get that out in front.
Well,
circling back to the beginning of this show for me. Today's one of the days where I zag.
Yeah, this is a zag. I mean, it's Hauser and Montgomery. And then if you just want to take some crazy shots, go for it. Aside from that, it's
the extremes are the easiest things to pick out on this slate. Either the extreme awful or extreme top end. And then the middle is just like the way that you pick like lottery balls. You're just like rotating the hopper and you're grabbing something random. But Montgomery is very clearly, unequivocally at the top of the list. Oakland and Colorado are very clearly, unequivocally at the bottom of the list for hitters. There are some distinctions that you can make immediately. Unfortunately for us, it's a 3-game slate, and the Oakland A's are probably the top scoring stack on that slate, like 10% of the time, and that is just horrifying.
Yeah, and Colorado, as well, as bad as they are.
Yeah, like there's probably a 20% chance that it's one of Colorado or Oakland.
Let's talk about this main slate a little bit. If we get top pitchers, top stacks, and ownership updated for this, I'll keep checking. We'll revisit it for a few minutes later in the show just to iron some things out. But I think that's a pretty decent overview out of the gate.
No disagreement there.
So let's talk about this main slate. 8 games, Houston and Baltimore. We won't start it off with that. We will start it off with Atlanta and Pittsburgh. Atlanta minus 285, 9.5 run total, minus 285 on the road today. Max Fried, Quinn Priester. And ultimately, when you're this big of a favorite as Max Fried against Pittsburgh in a favorable pitcher's park, you're going to just by default get some ownership. He's 19% owned in the top pitchers tool right now. Slight negative leverage, but nothing significant. What do you make of the lefty here against these Pirates bats?
I think he's okay. I think 20% ownership seems about right. I'm just copying over everything that I have from the top stacks or the top stacks, top pitcher tool right now. We have him 15.5% chance at top two, but call it 6% at top value. That's basically exactly where I have him. I came out a little bit lighter than the field. I have about 13%. It's clearly early, and the spot is fantastic. It's Max Fried, we haven't seen him. This is not someone that has been just like coming out here and making a start and making a start and making a start. It's been a while for Max Fried. Now, he has been back for one start. He had the start against the Cubs. He was able to go 6 innings. He was awesome. Struck out 8, didn't get touched up, no runs. But at the same time, we're still talking about a guy that had missed a couple months of games. Like, I know what Max Fried is, but he's 29 now. He just feels young to me, but he isn't. And I think that starts to matter. He's fully stretched out. He's in a great spot. The only real issue in Pittsburgh for him would be lefty power, if you're worried about anything here for Fried, just because lefties 96 park factor in Pittsburgh, righties 71. So when you're talking about a lefty, you're expecting to see righties. That plays into his output today perfectly. I kind of wish I was getting more Max Fried just because of what this spot looks like. He's not the same guy that he was, I think, probably 2 or 3 years ago, now that he's starting to get, I don't want to say up there in age, but about to turn 30 at some point in the near future. He should probably be more popular today than he is. Just if you ignore data, just on the surface, thinking about the game, I think he should be more popular. He just isn't.
We have Quinn Priester essentially with 0% top 2 probability in the top pitchers tool. Yeah. I mean, look, he's cheap. That's the only thing, but it's going up against Atlanta. They have an implied total that is north of 5 today, sitting at 6, as a matter of fact, right now, Josh. You're going to have a very difficult time getting to any of that. I think we'd be better suited talking about Atlanta bats, essentially tied for Boston with the highest top stack probability in the top stack tool right now. They don't grade out as well in as far as stack score goes, but much of that is just because you're paying a massive premium for arguably the best offense in baseball.
Yeah, you're trying to buy a ceiling, but it is an expensive way to buy a ceiling at this point. I mean, we've got Ronald Acuna now up to 6,800. This is, if he has a hot week, he's going to become 7K. Unless they have a hard-coded ceiling, he's going to become 7K if he just runs out hot. I don't know where the Braves' next series is, but like if they would happen to play in Colorado or in Cincinnati next, he has an opportunity to see a price tag that like we're not used to. If you can get to Atlanta. They're number 2 in our top stack tool. They're 17th in top value, but they're number 2 in top stacks. They're 6th in ownership. They're number 2 in mine as well. You just have to be able to find the salary and figure out what guys you like the best that are cheap to fill out the rest of that stack and what you want to do at pitching, because you'll probably have a little bit of trouble getting to Ohtani up at 11.3 or Kevin Gausman at 10.8. If we want to be like, you're probably going to need to work your way down. It's actually a decent spot to get to Max Fried if you want to go to Atlanta and then grab another cheap guy. I'm out of things to say about them. Like the park doesn't play up righty power, but this is the best offense. They still have a massive implied total in this park, limiting all of this righty power because they're the best offense in baseball. And I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, no question about it. And then Pittsburgh bats are pretty difficult to get to here on both sides, whether it's pitching or hitting. Pittsburgh looks as bad as any other team. Houston and Baltimore, Christian Javier, Jack Flaherty. Let's get into this one a little bit. So Javier, I don't know if it was you that mentioned it or Adam when we talked about it, that Javier had just been overpriced for a pretty long time now. I mean, he has no limitations on pitch count or anything like that, but man, he has labored in a lot of games. As far as strikeout rate goes, he's good, but not great. His price is down to 8,100 though, going against Baltimore. So you have seen a pretty steep decline in salary over the past month or so. Do you like him at 8,100, or do we still just stay away from Javier until he's either cheaper or lands a better matchup in a better park?
So that was Adam that you were talking to about it. He's been relatively anti-Christian Javier for most of this season. I don't really have too much to say. I do like the Orioles side of this game a bit. So Javier is 8,100. That price tag is certainly interesting. I don't mind. Like, that's not the limiting factor for Christian Javier today. The limiting factor for him is 17% K rate this season to lefties, 30 to righties. So getting some extreme strikeouts to righties, that's always good to see. However, 215 X ISO to lefties, 253 X ISO to righties. Even if you want to loop in last year, increase your sample, he's about neutral power for lefties, still 187 X ISO to righties. Strikeout rate is there. He is going to mow down some righties from time to time, and that's a good spot. But here's what the top of the projected lineup looks like that I have. Adley Rutschman, switch hitter, so you're going to get lefty. Not great for Christian Javier. Gunnar Henderson, lefty, just right out of the gate. Santander, switch hitter, going to be a lefty. Ryan O'Hearn, lefty. Mountcastle will step in there, righty. He's probably good for a strikeout or two in this one. Adam Frazier's a lefty and doesn't strike out. That's not going to be good for Christian Javier. You get Austin Hayes, who's a normal hitter, doesn't strike out a ton as a righty. It's just going to be a sea of lefties. I think this is an actively bad spot for Christian Javier. He's only getting 2% ownership. That's not anything that anybody is getting to. I don't think you should. I would have been more interested in getting to Jack Flaherty, who is 19% owned, 7,200. That is a price. He looked awesome in his first start for Baltimore. 11% top pitcher, 14% top value. He's probably a hair over owned at 19%. The salary's saving him, but it's a terrifying spot against Houston. It's not a great strikeout matchup. They're really good. One of the better lineups that you're going to find on today's slate. So I'm a little nervous about the ownership that's going to Flaherty, although his talent level and price tag is what's making that happen.
You're right, though, too, because it's reflected in the total. It's a 9-run total in this game. Each team has an implied total north of 4.5, too.
Yeah.
So it's, again, two pretty good pitchers, but that isn't to say that this isn't going to be a high-scoring game with a decent amount of runs. My guess, it'll be probably pretty warm, 85 degrees at first pitch. Yeah. So I'm with you. Does it do anything? Go ahead.
Like, there's a lot of upside on Flaherty because an average performance is really good at 7,200, but man, you're biting off a lot more than you probably want to chew against Houston.
Is there anything as far as bats go for you here?
Yeah, I definitely like Baltimore more than I like Houston. So they're 6th in top stack, 4th in top value, 5th in ownership. So they're about appropriately owned, and that's sort of where I have them. I don't have a ton of 5-mans, but I do like this Orioles team as filler, particularly at the top of that order. Rutschman, Henderson, Santander, O'Hearn. If you want to go to Mountcastle too, that's fine. Because as I mentioned, there's a lot of power issues for Christian Javier. And you get 2 MPEs, Gunnar Henderson and Ryan O'Hearn. Both have an MPE. Rutschman in the leadoff spot is well worth it at 5,200. I like filling in with Baltimore at the top. I don't necessarily love them as the full 5-man, but the first couple guys in this order, massive, massive power against a pitcher that has no problem whatsoever giving up that power. I like the Baltimore side. If you're betting on the Houston side, you're just doing that because of the raw talent. That's not really a path that I want to take against Jack Flaherty.
Also, we did get updated ownership and everything for the early slate.
Okay.
It looks exactly like what you and I said. Montgomery, 71% owned right now. Adrian Hauser, 68%. And then Cueto, 25. I get that because he's cheaper than Graham Ashcraft in the same park. You know, like there's not a huge difference there. Ashcraft at 14. And then Tarnock, 13. Chris Flexen, 8%. Who cares about that? As far as
Adrian Hauser being at 50% for top 2, like, I get it. There's only 6 names, but even that's higher than I was expecting. I'm not excited to run this data. I don't know if I'm going to play this early slate or not. We'll see once the show is over, but just looking at it, I don't want to.
No, it's not great. Top stack probability. This is great though. 25% for Texas, 22% for Milwaukee, 20% for Miami, 18% for Cincinnati, and then 10 for Colorado, 5 for Oakland. It's exactly what we anticipate. That's one of the easiest times I've ever had, just like cursory look at a slate and going, do we need the tools to know what it's going to look like?
I would have thought Oakland was like slightly higher, but not by much.
No.
But either way, I mean, I said 20% between the two. It's, 15.6. I'll call that one close enough.
How about the Cubs and the Mets here with Kyle Hendricks and David Peterson? A lot of high totals too, by the way, in this slate. 9-run total, Hendricks and Peterson. You're just never going to get considerable strikeout upside for Hendricks. The matchup isn't great against the Mets. They have a 4.7 implied total. He's getting virtually no ownership in this game. Peterson's getting around 6%. We have him top 2 probability at 8.7, 6,300. But again, the Cubs aren't a matchup that are just super easy, particularly against the left-handed arm. Do you have any interest in pitching from this game? It feels really tough to get to from either side.
I have 3% of David Peterson at 5% ownership. I have 5% of Kyle Hendricks at 3% ownership. If I'm going anywhere, and I don't like what I'm about to say because he's not that kind of guy at all. If I'm going anywhere, I think that I'm probably more likely to go to Kyle Hendricks, but they both don't look good. The park helps for sure. And there's going to be more strikeouts from David Peterson. I just feel like if I have them close to equal, I tend to overrate the Mets. So that makes me think that Kyle Hendricks looks a little bit better. If you look at David Peterson, 9% chance to be a top 2 pitcher, 18% at top 2 value. Seems to me that David Peterson, based on our data, is the guy that you want to get to and try to pay down at least a little bit. He's showing up as underowned, and I think that's at least a little bit appealing, but he's also David Peterson, like 199 x ISO to lefties over the past 2 years. That's probably going to work out pretty well for him, considering Cody Bellinger is likely the only lefty that Peterson will end up seeing. He does have no problem limiting righties, doesn't have any issue getting strikeouts against righties. It's a good spot for Peterson. He's probably a little underrepresented. I wouldn't be surprised if I end up with slightly more Kyle Hendricks. I'm guessing I don't end up with much of either.
Okay. With that in mind, do we get to any bats here? Looking at the top stacks tool too, you're getting Chicago Cubs don't look bad. Top 5, top stack probability, stack score somewhere in the middle. And then the New York Mets in this spot against Kyle Hendricks are at 4%. Hendricks, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like he's giving up more power this year than he was in the past.
Oh, yeah, just a little bit. 172 x ISO to lefties, 150 to righties. He just doesn't strike.
It's not terrible. Anybody actually,
it used to be like 18 or 19% K rate, and now it's 15. Like, yeah, he just can't find it anymore.
Less power actually than last year and the year prior. Still north of 1.11 home runs per 9, but not anything insane here. Like you said, the 15% strikeout rate means that balls are going to be put in play quite often. 46% ground ball rate though, so it's not like he's just serving up fly balls on every time batter makes contact. Not a lot of hard contact either. So I don't know how great of a spot it is for the New York Mets bats.
So this is an interesting one. I'm very different on the Cubs side of this one. I'll touch on the Mets quickly because I don't think that there's a lot to talk about. They're 9th in ownership. They're 9th in stack score. That's about where I have them. You should want to target against Kyle Hendricks, but I don't think the park helps all that much. Guy that I have the most of is Pete Alonso. It's 3%. If you don't want to pay up for Pete Alonso, there's a $2,300 Vogelbach usually around for you. They're just not. It's really hard to compare the Mets to someone like the Red Sox or the Braves on this slate at this point, or even somebody like the Dodgers later on. The Cubs side is interesting. We have them 5th in top stack. We have them 7th in ownership. I personally think they're getting a little bit too much respect and love here. I think Peterson is solid. I don't really see, like, to me, he's an above average pitcher. He doesn't have any like glaring weaknesses that the Cubs are in any position to touch on. It's lefty power, and they're just not running out any lefties. So they're going to have a sea of righties. Peterson has no issues with righties whatsoever. I don't know why the Cubs are getting as much love as they are. This is a pitcher's park. It limits runs. It limits power. I would much rather not be getting to the Cubs the same way that I haven't for the past 2 days when they've been a little bit more owned. I don't get it here. So I'm going to avoid Chicago. If I'm going anywhere, it's the Mets side.
Shout out to Chris Williams, gifted 5 more stochastic memberships. It's every day, man. It's morning and night. Soon everyone's going to have one.
And you'll love to see it.
Yeah. So depreciate as a result, though. No, for real, though. Thanks, Chris. And if Chris gifted you one, make sure to shout him out. Also, Josh, gotta love seeing this. Just scrolled up in chat a little bit. Prad Bit said, shout out to Stochastic. I'm here to say that the lineup generator is legit. Barely subscribed 2 days ago, and I hit on a few chalky lineups, hit big on 4 contrarian lineups. KC came through. You love to see it. And what he's talking about too is you can select your stack types, like any type of stack you want. You can select whether you want chalky, contrarian, balanced lineups, or you can just click all. You can see how chalky every lineup is. You can see what the optimal projection for these lineups is. You can lock players in and swap them, although I always suggest don't go overboard with that because then you're defeating the purpose of the tool entirely. We're already simulating thousands of lineups, throwing out the bad ones and giving you the best ones in the lineup generator, to within which you can discard the ones you don't like, keep the ones you love, save them, upload them to CSV, simplest process ever. We actually discussed how to do this the other day on the show. Very simple. And see all of your exposures once you save them. But whenever I see that, whenever I see the screenshots rolling in, just like, hey, I paid $4.48 for my first week, and now it paid for itself for the next 2 years. It's a pretty good feeling, man.
It's a situation where sometimes because we're so in this space, because we talk DFS every day, because and it never changes. Like we're in the weeds for this stuff. You forget how much, and I don't want to use the term casual in a negative way, but we forget about how many people are just like trying to pop in a lineup or two for the day and like move forward.
Well, people that have like demanding lives too, and full-time jobs and stuff.
Well, to be fair, I had that as well. I just didn't do my job while I was at work. I just played DFS, but not everybody is going to be a total asshole.
That's what happened to me too. And I quit before they fired me.
Yeah. But for the general player, this is the nut tool that you can get to because it makes your life so much easier. It's relying on the data that's been at the top of the industry for years, and you're getting a lineup if you want it in 5 seconds. And you could just be like, okay, that's going to be the lineup that I have for today. If you want to make more changes and stack it out or swap anything out, like the flexibility is there. But if you're just looking for something to sweat each night, you put in a tough day at the mill, you want to sit down with a beer at 7 o'clock after your roast beef and taters at night. You just sit down with a nice Bud Light, I'm sure. You can very easily just put in a lineup for less than $5. It's so easy.
Yeah. And even if you're playing the quarter arcade, the mini max, the 50 cent, like it's $4.48 for the first week, $8.95 going forward for the week. I think it's the best tool for, I don't want to say casuals, but people that love DFS, and are looking to increase their bankroll, but might not be in a position now to pay $120 a month, or something like that. Or just someone that's short on time. Like it doesn't have to be low stakes. Someone that's short on time that wants positive EV plus EV lineups and doesn't have to worry about if they're missing news or if they're messing something up. So link in the description to that, link in the chat. It's $4.48 for the first week. If nothing else, you hate it. And at the end of the week, you're down less than it would cost you to buy a cup of coffee. All right.
Can we talk about how expensive coffee is? That's the real issue in this discussion.
Yeah, dude. I just make it from home. I don't go in.
I buy it publicly so frequently, and it is such a money sink. Yeah.
I haven't bought coffee out. Like I haven't bought coffee in a long time.
Almost every day.
But I just drink black. I just drink it black anyway. So like I just brew it up, 1 cup in the morning, and that's it. Yeah. How much coffee do you drink a day?
Depends on the day. A lot. A lot.
Like more
if they sold cold brew decaf, I'd buy all of it.
Do you think you drink more than 30 ounces of coffee a day?
During the NBA season, yes. Right now, no.
No. Okay.
NBA on no doubt.
Well, also, let's be fair. Coffee is 98% water anyway.
I think it's probably more than that. Yours is, at least. Mine's not. I fluff mine up a bit.
Yeah, but I'm saying no, like it's 98% water. So it's mostly water. You're just hydrated. All right.
I don't think that's true.
No, that's not true at all. That's like saying beer is mostly water and you're hydrating.
I mean, the first part of the sentence is true. I don't understand hydration. Do you? Do you understand how a drink that could be, let's just use coffee for the example, a drink that is only water with beans that have been soaked in it somehow does not hydrate you? Like where does all that go?
Because
I get it.
Yeah.
I don't not know, but
right.
I don't know how that volume gets negated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how do I turn a 12-ounce coffee into negative water? That I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like I know the words that we're supposed to say that explains those situations. I don't know why that's a thing. I don't know where those 12 ounces go.
The caffeine in coffee gives it diuretic effects, meaning it causes your body to pass more urine. But these effects are too mild to cause dehydration, especially if you're a regular coffee drinker. Coffee may even be hydrating for some people because it contains a lot of water. I was just saying 98%. Now I drink probably 8 bottles of water a day. So I'm good.
Yeah.
But I do that because it makes me feel better. I will say though, as I mature with age, do you eat asparagus? I like asparagus with the steak or with some chicken, or some crab. Yeah. I'm learning to really enjoy the smell of asparagus piss.
Okay. Sounds like you're looking for something in life that I don't want to help you with.
I've begun to really relish.
Just yours or anybody's?
I don't believe I've smelled anyone else's, but I begin to really relish in the experience lately. And it's odd. I understand that.
Slippery slope, dude.
It is a somewhat slippery slope, but I think one would argue that it's better than being disgusted by it and dreading, every trip to the toilet.
I think you're just trying to clear your kink online and you want to see how I feel about it. Buddy, this one's not for me, man.
Justine walked in on me yesterday and I had my head in the bowl just smelling the...
I mean, why don't you just point the hose at the face? Get it all, man. Take it straight from the tap.
No, it's true though. It doesn't bother me. I've almost come to appreciate it. I look down and I said, I did that. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, we've hit some dumb shit on these shows from time to time, but stinky piss is a new one for us.
Do you appreciate the smell of your own farts?
Obviously, who doesn't?
That's what I'm saying. So what difference is it?
Yeah,
although there are times, to be clear, where I go, oh God, that not even I can enjoy that one.
Oh no. Those are the...
Wait, you like the most pungent ones the best?
Yeah, that's like the buzzer beater to win the game, man. Those are the best ones you'll ever get. I want the most sulfury, I'm peeling hard-boiled eggs day. I want you to feel it in the air. Unfortunately, I don't bring the same stank that I brought 15 years ago. There was a time in my life where I prided myself on having just pure sewage farts. College, when it's a pizza a day, a buffalo chicken cheesesteak
with beer,
24 natty lights, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The business that I'm bringing to people on a Monday morning is legendary.
And I'm sure just straight Dutch ovening yourself intentionally at the end of the night.
You don't have to. This stuff would permeate. It would go through blankets. I had like ninja farts. It would sneak out of everything.
Your comforter looked like it had cigarette burns in it. And then you woke up the next day. All right, we got to keep going here. Toronto and Cleveland. Let's talk about the Toronto Blue Jays. Kevin Gausman, Logan Allen. Look, with Gausman, it's a good matchup in the sense that it's not the most power-packed lineup, but it is a tough strikeout spot. He's 10-8. Ohtani's going up against San Francisco. He's 30% owned. Gausman is 21%. And then you have a cheaper Yu Darvish against Seattle in Seattle at 8,800. So I can see why Kevin Gausman at 10-8 is getting some ownership, but not a ton of ownership. We do have him positively leveraged, though, on our tools.
Yeah, not the best start for Gausman last time out. Gave up a couple runs, didn't rack up the strikeouts the way that you would have liked. Doesn't really change anything. Still one of the best pitchers in baseball. The problem here is the fact that the Cleveland Guardians just simply don't strike out. This is a game where you almost need volume from Kevin Gausman, more so than just bulk strikeouts, because this is not a game where you're going to get bulk strikeouts. I think he's properly owned at 23%. I'm a little bit lighter because I don't think the ceiling is there in the same way just because of this matchup. But if he goes out there and throws 8 innings, that changes up the game a little bit. I certainly prefer Ohtani to Gausman, but I wouldn't talk anybody out of it. Logan Allen on the opposite side, 8,400. It's just a dicey spot to want to get to a guy against the absolute power that exists here for Toronto. But it's not like Logan Allen gives up a lot of power. He does give it up to righties a little bit, 176 x ISO. So it's going to be a little treacherous for Guerrero, Jansen, Kirk, Chapman, Schneider. Scary spot for Logan Allen.
All right.
What's up? Now what?
Nothing.
A lot of fart talk in chat. Thanks, man.
Yeah. People, what is this? Howard Stern, 1995?
720 Red Dog, you showed up after talking all your shit 2 days ago, and I immediately finished second after you told me I wasn't even playing. Nice to see you.
Nice little $25,000 win, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. But, you know, I probably wasn't playing or doing any of the things that I was saying.
Are you playing or doing anything with Cleveland and Toronto bats? I mean, whether you love Gausman or not, it is tough to get to Cleveland today. Toronto bats against Logan Allen, a lefty with those Toronto bats could be kind of interesting.
No, the only place you're going here is Toronto. You're clearly not playing the Cleveland bats. Toronto's, they're probably getting a little bit more ownership than you would expect, just given Logan Allen's pedigree. I like them. I don't love them. You know, 7.5% owned, 5.5% stack score. It's not the best spot, but one-offing a couple of these guys, you kind of expect 1 or 2 home runs from the righties. You just kind of want to get that right. So start with Vlad Guerrero and work your way down. I doubt I have a lot of the Blue Jays. I wouldn't mind if I did, though. And there's no chance of getting to Cleveland. I have 1 3-man Guardian stack.
Aggressive Goose said Josh has the memory of an elephant when it comes to people who talk shit to him.
It's true.
It is. You don't forget.
No, I don't.
KC and Boston. All right. So Kansas City plus 185 here. 10.5 run total as well. Boston has a massive implied total today. They're currently sitting at 6.5. I'm seeing it higher in some places. 13.9% top stack chances here. Highest score in our stack score on the top stacks tool. By the way, 50% all of our tools, all sports. If you're looking to get in on that, link in the description and in chat, not just the lineup generator, but Stochastic plus Platinum's 50% off everything. And the lineup generator is included in that for baseball, for PGA, and for NFL, basketball too, but that's, you know, more than a month out. So check that out if you haven't yet. All the tools that we reference every day, it's all down there. Yeah, but Boston just in a good spot against Jordan Lyles. There are some pitchers in this league where you look at them and you go, you know, it's a wonder that they're still pitching weekly or every 5 days, and they're still getting out of this alive. I mean, Jordan Lyles is striking out 16% of batters, 1.75 home runs per 9 this season, 5.42 xFIP. Things are out of control. Maybe he's been a little bit unlucky when you look at some of these numbers, but even if he's been unlucky, you could regress that back to him being where he should be, and it's still very bad.
Yeah, let's just start here. Obviously, don't play Jordan Lyles today. Dude is cheeks, and he is projected to give up the most runs of any starter today. Nick Pivetta, on the other hand, 15% owned, 15% top 2 pitcher odds in our tool, in my tool. I'm right there. I'm with the field. Please get to Nick Pivetta as a mid-tier value option if you want it. Please do not roster Jordan Lyles. That part is pretty easy. I also hate Nick Pivetta still. Not going to ever forget that. We'll keep it moving. We'll talk Boston. Is there anything to even say? Like, every single bit of this is awesome. They're number 1 in top stack. We have them 5th in value. I actually think that's even still a bit low. 5,200 for Devers isn't expensive as a top guy. Yoshida's 4,800. Everybody else is 4,400 or below. The Red Sox might as well be free. They are the chalkiest stack. They should be. They are the team that I have the most of. I don't mind it. We'll see what it ends up being when we get to the end here. But run total, park, opponent, everything looks great. Jordan Lyles is 207 X ISO over the past 2 years. That's 2,300 pitches to lefties, 200 ISO, 190 X ISO to righties. That's 2,500 pitches. It's not like this is small sample size stuff. He's been out there slinging 5,000 plus pitches over the past 2 years, and everybody bludgeons every single pitch he throws. This is an incredible spot for the Boston Red Sox. You cannot avoid them today.
I don't want to overlook Pivetta that quick. I know you don't like the guy, but it is against Kansas City. He is 7,800. He's getting 14% ownership.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty good spot. They have a 4.1 run implied total here. So while this game has a very high total, it is largely going to the Red Sox. So don't mistake that for Nick Pivetta being in a bad spot.
No, so I like Pivetta, but I think the Royals are also very interesting. I think they're the number one value team, and it's not close. It is a team I'm getting to. This is turning into a game stack for me. It has been for the past 2 days as well. They're getting significantly less ownership than the Red Sox. I mean, maybe not significantly, but they're getting less ownership than the Red Sox. They've got all the outfielders buried at the bottom of the stack. So you're picking up a third baseman in Garcia, a shortstop in Witt, a second baseman in Massey. You can do whatever you want with Salvador Perez since he has the MPE. And it's not like Pivetta is some guy that you should just aggressively be avoiding. He has a 204 X ISO to lefties this year. Does he strike out a lot of lefties? Yeah, but is Michael Massey capable of taking him deep? Is MJ Melendez capable of taking him deep? Yeah, absolutely. And then righties are touching him a little bit from an X ISO perspective, 176 there. Nobody's like hitting him hard, but he's always had problems giving up power. I'm willing to take my chances on the Royals today with him giving up that power. Massey in particular at 2,700, lefty righty, just stands out as too cheap of a dude for today.
It makes sense too. They actually profiled pretty well in the top stacks tool as well.
Like, yeah.
Highest value score.
Yep.
Of anyone on the slate.
Yeah.
I think they're like third in stack score as well, just based on everything you were talking about too. And
they're so cheap. They only have, other than Bobby Witt at 5,600, where you're checking off shortstop, $4,200 Salvador Perez is the most expensive guy. Everybody else is 3,900 or below. They have 5 guys in their projected lineup sub 3K.
No, you're right. It's a good
the opposite of the Braves.
It's a good part. It's certainly a beatable matchup too. Like Pivetta could go out there and deal, and you wish you had a lot of Pivetta. Kansas City could knock him around as well. So yeah, both sides of this look pretty interesting. New York and the White Sox. We don't have a pitcher for the Yankees yet. We're projecting Severino. We have Clevenger on the White Sox side. There's no line for this out there either. So no odds on this game yet, but Clevenger's 6,900 against the Yankees. Severino, assuming he gets the start today, he's down to 5,600. We actually do have him getting a little bit of ownership, largely just based on the matchup here, and a far better pitcher's park than Yankee Stadium as well. So, do you have any interest? Like, obviously, I know it's been a dreadful season for Severino, but do you have any interest given that he's so cheap in this matchup?
I don't know what to do with him anymore. I really don't, because he's not the same dude and something's happening, but projection systems use all of the data that he's had for the past couple of years. But this year, he has a 15% strikeout rate to lefties, a 20% strikeout rate to righties, and he gives up a 200 plus X ISO to both. I don't know what he is at this point, but he's 18% owned at 5,600 against the White Sox. I'm getting there. I don't want to get there. I'm in full agreement with all of our tools. So I'm going to say this, play a little bit of Severino, but if we get to 7:00 tonight and I have 0, that is what I want to see. It's just not what I'm getting right now. I'm getting to Clevenger. I'd rather get to Clevenger. It's a better strikeout matchup for Clevenger. It's certainly not a better matchup. Yankees are a little scary. Clevenger has problems with lefty power. In the current projected lineup for the Yankees, that's Jake Bauers and Billy McKinney. Other than that, it's going to be righties. Righties this year, 126 X ISO, 22% strikeout rate. You add in last year, like Clevenger's only problem is lefties. If the Yankees are only going to trot out 2 lefties, this is a sneaky spot for Clevenger at 6,900.
Red Skittles trying to save that clip from her. Dude, I promise you, anything Josh or I say on this show, we will willingly say openly and eagerly anywhere else. So.
Which one are what's he trying to clip?
Maybe the asparagus urine. I can tell you this much. I was thinking about tweeting that myself.
Hmm. I didn't think about tweeting any of this stuff.
Yeah. All right. Do you have interest in Clevenger, or on the other side, bats from this game? That could obviously be remotely interesting today with both of these pitchers on the mound.
Yeah, I think we need to talk a little bit about the Yankees. They are second in ownership here against Clevenger, third in top stack, second in top value, second in stack score. They're appropriately-ish owned. I have basically the same odds on them, but just as I look at it and as I try to piece it together in my brain, because of Clevenger's success against righties, this may be grading out pretty well for the Yankees, but I don't necessarily think it's a good spot unless they find some lefty power that can work into this lineup. So right now I have got a pretty heavy fade on the Yankees, probably the biggest fade of any team that exists on this slate. And I don't disagree with their raw stats, but we have 11% aggregate going to the Yanks. I only have 5%. If you want to roster Judge as a one-off, by all means. Jake Bauers continues to be the most interesting Yankee because of the leadoff spot, because of the MPE, and because of the $2,800 price tag. But as I look at it right now, I think the Yankees will end up being my biggest fade team for today. I'm much more likely to get to the White Sox side of this one. I have 19 White Sox 5-mans. They're cheap as hell. $5,500 Lou Bob. After that, everybody is $3,700 or below. This is a really nice value stack against the Luis Severino that basically hasn't even been able to get like little league hitters out this year.
He's had a really rough season, man.
He's next level dog shit, man.
That when you get a starter at 5,600, like we see it all the time. Even most of the bad starters are mid 6K. It's not good. All right, 3 games to go. Also, guys, if you want some free money and you've yet to take advantage of it, Sleeper's got 100% first match deposit bonus up to $100. So you put 20 in, now you got 40, you got a free 20. You put 50 in, you got 100, you got a free 50. You put 100 in, I always recommend maxing these bonuses because it's money that is free. So when you do so, like if you have the money to do it, you always want to do the 100% match because they're not going to come back to you 2 weeks later and offer you the same thing. When you say, wait, I only had 20, but now I've got 50. Can I get the rest of that bonus? It's a one-time deal. Over at Sleeper Picks, man, 100% first match up to $100. It's an awesome offer. Their picks format, in my opinion, is unique in that it's I think it revolutionizes the way that things are done in pick'em formats. Because you think about it, like they have dynamic pricing where you have football season coming up. Most of these pick'em sites are only going to be able to give you, let's say if we're doing anytime touchdowns, you're only going to be able to get anytime touchdown props where, because in pick'em, you're just taking the over or the under on these stats, on these predictions, right? You're making your predictions over the under. Up to 100x on Sleeper, which is huge, up to 8 legs. On other sites, you're only going to get like the Derrick Henrys and the Austin Ecklers, right? You're only going to get them because it's close to a 50-50 proposition. On Sleeper, what they've done with dynamic payouts is they've created multipliers. So now, if it's a touchdown score that like at a traditional book is plus 450 to score or plus 300, you would get a 3x multiplier on that. So you 3x your payout on Sleeper, which means they can now include long shots. Like Josh, they have home runs too. They have home runs where you're not getting them at a traditional pick'em site because how the hell do you price that? You can't.
If you're in a non-legal state, like this is the way to do it. If you've been on the hunt for plays like this is exactly what you're looking for. You're getting the same experience in a slightly different manner. We talk about it all the time. We're constantly pointing out like free squares or bonuses, whatever exists for some of these sites, whether it's Sleeper or any one of them. Soak up as much free money as you guys can get. I can't say that enough. I don't care what relationship we have with any of these places. Free money is free money. You should be getting it from because we're telling you to do it, and in all situations in life. It's no different than getting like a 401k match at your employer. Take all of the free money you can get everywhere, always. It's a no-brainer in that regard. If you find out that you play at Sleeper for a bit and that's not the site you like, you prefer one of the other sites that we talk about, Prize Picks, Underdog, Draft, or whatever it is. If that ends up being a site you don't like, that's fine. You still got yourself free cash to start it off. And maybe it is the site that you find is the best one for you.
Yeah, maybe you make some money. Link in the description and in chat. I think this is the site for people who are looking to get some fun stuff outside of just like the routine close to 50-50 propositions, where you actually can spread it out a long way with a wealth of different props. Link in the description and chat if you want to take advantage of that first match deposit bonus up to $100. They do a ton of free squares over there, and the pick'em platform, like I said, up to 100x opportunity for some really big payouts over at Sleeper. All right, San Francisco and LA. So we've got Shohei Ohtani on the bump, 7.5 run total in this game, by the way. Ryan Walker is scheduled to start. Is he an opener, or are we getting
he'll probably go an inning or two.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't think we have the long relief here, but I think Shohei Ohtani is where we start this one. 31% projected ownership. Also, though, 30% top 2 pitcher probability. Pretty significant when you get ownership this high to not see big negative leverage. There's no negative leverage on Ohtani at all today.
No, there is not. He is absolutely properly owned. Clearly the number 1 pitcher for today, just because of matchup. I got him a couple points ahead of Kevin Gausman. The strikeout should be there against San Francisco. 30% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 6% chance of being a top 2 value. That's exactly where I have him. I'm taking a much bigger stand, so I'm about 2x the field on Ohtani right now. That tends to happen for the top guy. I usually take a pretty big stand on at least one pitcher. So 1-2, if you're around, it's probably going to be Ohtani for today. And I don't really have much else to say about it. Like, we know he's good. I assume he's going to get a blister and it'll piss me off, but we're also talking about a guy with a 30+% K rate. The upside for strikeouts for Shohei Ohtani today is massive. And that's what you're looking for in a DFS pitcher. You're looking for strikeouts. The more strikeouts you can get, the more you can get by if something goes wrong. I'm pulling it up right now just to double check it. But currently, the strikeout prop on Shohei Ohtani, line set at 7.5. Under is -136, so slight shading to the under, probably projecting him around 7 strikeouts. That is going to make him the best option because of Kevin Gausman having to face the Guardians. Almost said the I word. That would have been bad. Get yourself some Ohtani. Ignore Walker.
Ignore Walker. And I think in large part, you don't have to be targeting a ton of bats here. It's the lowest total on the slate. They both have bottom 5 top stack probability in the top stack tool. It doesn't look all that good from a hitting perspective either.
No, it doesn't. I don't really want to take the Angels in a bullpen game, particularly on a day where you can't also have Shohei Ohtani as a hitter. So you're removing arguably the best hitter in baseball from this lineup and getting a bullpen game pass. The Giants on the opposite side have to face Ohtani. If you want to take the Giants and just hope that today is one of the days where things don't go well for Shohei Ohtani, that's the path of getting to the Giants. You get the leverage on the opposite side. It is not going to happen frequently, probably like once out of every 50 times you try it, but that path is there, and it is a fast pass to the top of the contest. That said, I would rather not have them. Only guy that I want from this game in any way as a solo shot is going to be a Luis Rengifo, second base, shortstop, MPE, probably hitting in the leadoff spot, unowned. The flexibility you get from that MPE in the leadoff spot is the only thing that I want.
Next game, Dodgers and Arizona, where you've got Bobby Miller and Merrill Kelly. Do you have any interest in Miller at all? Like 23% K rate. He's north of $8,000 on DraftKings, but Arizona strikes out at a bottom 5 clip versus right-handed pitching. They walk quite a bit. They draw out long plate appearances. They have some power. Feels like a underwhelming spot, not the worst spot, but not a great spot for him. And then anything you have on Merrill Kelly on the other side.
Yeah, so I don't have much of Miller. He's 7% owned, and that's probably where he should be. 11% top 2 pitcher. That's about where his ownership should show up. Spot against the Diamondbacks is fine. The park certainly limits power a little bit, so I don't really mind it. He's not that kind of guy. I've got him projected for a little over 4 strikeouts. That's just not really what I'm looking for at 8,200. So he's an okay option in the mid tier. I just don't think that he's any sort of priority. 25% K rate to lefties over the past 2 years, 21 to righties. Merrill Kelly on the opposite side kind of just feels the same way. He's a guy that gets touched up a little bit against lefties. So like Muncy and Freeman are probably in a good spot, but he's 9,100, 4% ownership. I think is probably close to correct. We have him 13% top 2 pitcher. That feels a little high just given this matchup, but if you want to call it 10, maybe you think he's a little under-owned, but not a guy that I think you should be prioritizing in any way because the Dodgers are on the opposite side and they're really good.
They really are. Chris Williams, thanks for the super chat. Said, time to atone. Hit the like button. Yeah, atone for your sins on this Wednesday morning. We're already north of 100, though. We only asked once earlier in the show. So thank you guys for taking the initiative. Appreciate you. Also, you had Kareem Livingston said, I'm late to the stream, but that was an awesome look in your process yesterday, Josh. Definitely cool look into the spreadsheet that you use. Will you be doing that again sometime soon? My guess is once football starts, you might be doing this one be going solo.
Yeah, that would be totally cool with me. Happy to do it. I enjoy it. It's the way that I've started doing content in this industry, sharing my Excel workbook and just talking over what's on the screen. I think it's like my best way of doing shows. So I would like to do it more, but as long as Lofty's around, it's going to be the two of us in the mornings moving forward. But once football starts, get ready.
Don't worry, I'll be on football soon enough. Yeah, it'll be here before you know it too.
Can't wait for you to be on football.
That is not an insult, by the way. It's a compliment.
When's the first week of the
right
season?
around the month.
Okay.
Yeah, right around the month. So
Oof.
I look forward to that. Dodgers have the 4th highest top stack probability on this slate. Merrill Kelly's a good pitcher. What do you make of that?
I mean, it's a tale of two different teams because Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, they look fantastic at the top, but they're really expensive. So you're paying up to get those good quality bats. And then you get freed up a little bit at the bottom with 2,800, 2,900, 2,900, 3,200, like lots of cheaper bats to get to. They're 10th in ownership at 4%. They're probably a little underrepresented, but at the same time, it's because if you want to stack them and get the real hitters, they start to look a little bit more like Atlanta. I have a little bit. I think they're a really hard team to want to get a lot of. The only way you're getting a lot of the Dodgers is if you're like, hey, it's going to be a really big Kike Hernandez day. You've got to pick up some of the slop at the bottom to really want to load up on the Dodgers. And if you want to load up on the Dodgers, you're just kind of better off loading up on Atlanta.
Yeah. Merrill Kelly is good too. He's a good pitcher. Doesn't allow a ton of power. 25% K rate. I think 3.8 xFIP. Some good numbers. But of course, like you said, there are some bats in this Dodgers lineups that are just extraordinarily scary.
Yep.
Ready to wrap this one up?
I am ready to wrap this one up. Yes.
Let's do it. Yu Darvish and old Emerson Hancock. Always been a big fan of him. I'm happy to see that he's making his debut. Probably a tough matchup. Been following him for many years, and I look forward to seeing him mature in the MLB. You a big Emerson Hancock fan?
Yeah, I am. You should be. Number 3 prospect in Seattle's system. He was the number 6 overall pick 3 years ago in the 2020 draft, getting himself up here, making his debut for Seattle. That's exciting, right?
Yeah, coming up from AAA though. Or from AA.
Yeah, 26% K rate in AA so far this year, 98 innings.
Yeah, he has not been great.
No,
he's been much better lately though. So I don't know. You're getting a decent K rate there. He's not like he doesn't allow a lot of power. He's not somebody that strikes me as someone that's going to come up immediately and start dealing coming out of AAA against San Diego. But hey, on the bright side, he does have a favorable park that he's going to debut in today in Seattle. He's going to get not no ownership, no real likelihood of being the top two pitcher. We have him at 4.7. But here's the thing. In all seriousness, I joke about a lot of this stuff. He's minimum salary. He's $4,000. So you're going to get some ownership going there just by nature of it being a minimum salary pitcher. And San Diego has a 4.7 run total, which actually isn't that high going up against a guy coming out of AA.
Yeah, this is a tricky one because you don't want a pitcher making his major league debut against the Padres. Like, this is tough sledding. It's a bad strikeout matchup. They're exceptionally talented, but he's 4K, and all bets are off at 4K because it takes so little to matter at that price tag. And on the off chance that he just happens to go 5 innings and it goes really well, gets an extra strikeout or two, all of a sudden he goes for, just call it, like, if he goes for 20 fantasy points, holy shit, is he important. And he's 10% owned. So he's certainly interesting. He has a bit of a pedigree as a young starter. Didn't really rank overall, but certainly ranks for the Seattle staff. You have to get a little bit of him at 4K today if you're a max entry type player. But boy, oh boy, is it a scary spot. Darvish, on the other hand, is my second favorite guy. 36% owned at 8,800. There are some strikeouts to be had here in the Seattle lineup. That price tag is really what's appealing. And the fact that the Seattle park just dramatically limits runs. Darvish at 36% ownership. I have 44. I'm going to be neutral there. I think he's the best pitching option for today. Although it does scare me because Seattle's talented.
Yeah. Well, hey, Alex, how do you say that name? Alexier Delgado? Alexier. It's got to be Alexier. Like you said, since I found out about Stochastic, which was last week, I've been building awesome lineups, cashing every day. My birthday's coming up, and my grandkids.
Ruh-roh. I thought it was me. I'm so happy. I couldn't hear shit. I'm not
muted. The cord came out of the mixer.
That's also still muted to us.
But it's not muted. Technical difficulty. Anyway, that's good stuff, man. Tell them to use the link for the one in the strategy show when your grandkids do decide to buy you that. But good stuff. Welcome. Any bats here that you like? I mean, can we just go to San Diego against High Hancock and assume that maybe he stinks in his debut?
I mean, they're not getting any ownership, so that part is kind of appealing, but I don't really like it in this park. I don't mind. Like, I'm always interested in Tatis, Soto, Machado. These are guys that project with north of 200 ISOs. That could be a problem for Emerson Hancock, who, I might add, projects with a 5 FIP via steamer. Like, he doesn't have a great profile. If the highest owned guy for the Padres is going to be a 4% owned Tatis, this is probably the sneaky way to go and get a stack in a spot where we don't have a lot of information on Hancock. If you want to have a team that has a 5% chance of being a top stack, but only 2% ownership, go to San Diego. Just don't go there a lot. And then for Seattle, it's sort of the same as like any other major pitcher we've talked about today. No one's going there. They're talented. It is a quick way to get to the top of a list if you want to try to beat the Darvish side, but the Darvish side is the better side.
Yeah, man. Hey, follow Josh at Josh Engleman. Me at Lafayette_D. Thanks to Mike for producing this one. And take your free money on Sleeper, link in the description. MLB lineup generator, 448 for the first week. We got the Sims tool down there in the description, 50% off all of our tools. So if you haven't done so yet, you want to check everything out, we got you covered. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you hanging out as always. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock Eastern on the MLB Strategy Show. Peace.